Okay, so it's time for our second session today. So we will have Jose Santos talking about JumiaPay App architecture. He's the director of engineering for JumiaPay Consumer. Okay, so Jose has been working in the industry for 19 years, 10 years of them in Jumia. So Jose launched the first Jumia shop, working in travel and JumiaPay. Okay, so Jose will talk about modern e-commerce scaling the service offered to infinite numbers, the journey in designing and building JumiaPay architecture. Please join me welcoming Jose Santos, Director of Engineering in JumiaPay.
Hey everyone. So hello, good evening. I'm a bit nervous. First time doing a presentation in Cairo. Hope you're not a tough crowd. So today I will be speaking about JumiaPay App, the JumiaPay consumer application, and my mouse is not working, so it's starting well. Hey, there you go. There you go. So I will start with a brief presentation of the JumiaPay app. Honestly, I believe that most of you know or use every day our app because it's the best app in the market here in Egypt. The JumiaPay application, it allows every one of you to pay for many of the digital services available in the country. You can pay from your utility bills, water, electricity, your internet subscription plan. You can recharge a cell phone. And then there is really, really a lot of other types of digital services like finance services. You can pay your traffic fines. You can pay your university tuitions, streaming services, video game services, all these type of things. So there is really a huge catalog of services that you can pay. So this is basically the speech, and if you join the JumiaPay consumer app, that will be probably the first speech you will hear from me when you're on the onboarding phase. The other way. So the guys that knows me knows that I'm kind of a storyteller. So today my presentation is going to be exactly like that. I'm going to tell you how we built this application and what were the challenges in the perspective of the team that built it. So I will say maybe 5 years ago, we were working at Jumia, and there was this new concept, this new idea, crazy idea, like every crazy ideas that are successful starts with some sort of brainstorming, and they were saying, you know, what if we had an application that you could basically pay for everything? Obviously, when someone comes to you and says that, you say, okay, all right, why not? Yeah, why? And as a business stakeholder, we'll say, it should be easy. You have a button, you click and you pay. And you as a tech guy, you're like, yeah, okay, sure. You have a button, you pay, but you know, on the background, a lot of things will happen. So, and I ask, what are digital services? Really, what are they supposed to do? And they were saying, you know, you could pay your bills, you could do donations, you could pay for many different things, anything. And that was the first question mark. What is anything, really? So I've been working in e-commerce for like 19 years. And for 19 years, I work with something that is very concrete, a catalog. So you have a database on your website that has products. From the products, you have categories, just like the category tree that Bruno was showing. And then you have problems, obviously. Scalability, how big is your catalog? How big is your database? These type of things you need to worry about. And you get a bit of experience after the years, and you find new solutions, and you build these solutions. For me, JumiaPay app was completely different because there was no catalog. I had digital services, and it means what it means. Nothing. We don't know what it is. We don't have a database. There is nowhere where to check the price, nothing to compare to. So the team got documentation, basically. We have partner A, partner B. You know, Jumia doesn't have an electricity company. We don't provide internet services to your home. So we had partners. These partners were able to provide bills, and we could basically trigger and pay these bills. Amazing. So we built our first MVP. Just like Bruno was saying, let's give to the consumers something to start. And it was built maybe like a couple of months, I will say 2-3 months. And like any startup, yeah, we built a huge monolithic that was doing everything impossible to manage, but it was working. You know, it works on my computer, it works on the server, it's perfect. And we were starting the business like this. But as soon as we start the business, we were 4 developers, if I'm correct. And it took a couple of weeks just to be able to provide the first form where you can input your phone number, the amount that you want to recharge, and actually be able to deliver that service to the consumer. So after you paid for it, that amount be delivered to your phone. And obviously the business stakeholders were saying, yeah, guys, you managed to deliver maybe what, 5, 10 services? We have like ideas for like hundreds of services. And I was looking at 3 developers and like, huh. So we decided to go back to the whiteboard, basically. After we went live in the first version, we decided, let's scrap this. This is really bad. We're going to throw it away. And we start a new development, not with code, but with a simple Google Docs file. And we started drafting what could be that we could build that could scale and scale to these numbers. So actually, this is a good example of how JumiaPay started like this, exactly. So every time I do like this, you switch slide. So we looked into the whiteboard. It was empty, obviously, it was white, and we needed to start drafting. Like any product on your catalog, you have properties, right? You selling electronic goods, your iPhone, and your iPhone has a screen size, and it has a color, variation, stuff like that. What digital services have in common? Nothing. Honestly, we got to a point, not really anything. We were trying to sell bills, subscription, finance, so many things, so much complexity. We had to really look deeper to find common places. Yeah, I'm gonna look weird on the video doing this all the time. So we started with this guessing game, all right? So you have a bill. What the bill has in common with recharge? What does it has with the subscription plans? And as I was telling you, nothing, but there was a flow. And the flow was basically, we want to show to the user a form so the user can input information. It can be your meter number, it can be your cell phone number. It has to be something. Then from this form, it should be smart enough to go to a screen. We will tell the user, for that service, for that set of information, you will pay X amount of EGPs. And then if you agree with that, you will go to what we call the checkout page, which is the payment system. And from the payment provider, you will see a success screen, a page basically where you see the status of your transaction. So that was what we call the minimum denominator, common denominator, or the last one. Thanks. That's it. So basically, this is the common part. So we start working first on the form. So we have a form. And you know, guys, if you've been working for a few years in this industry, in e-commerce, you will see many frameworks. They bring like some sort of form generator, right? So like if I think about a few years ago, there was like Symfony had a form generator, for who is familiar with Symfony, the PHP framework. And we thought, well, you know what? We could do that. We could basically build an API that tells the client applications how to behave, how you should present yourself to the user, and what the user should do next. So we wanted to have client applications that were super dumb. They have absolutely no opinion whatsoever on what to do. Everything will come from the API. And from that definitions for every fields, for every step, because a form can have multiple steps, just like a wizard when you install an application, it should tell the application what is the next step. What are we expecting from the user to input? And as soon as we collect all this information, the API should be smart enough to tell the user or to the client application the summary, the details of that transaction, and so on and so forth. So here we work maybe for, I don't know, 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks. We developed this what we call the JumiaPay protocol. And this development was all done inside Google Docs, and it was tested in Google Docs. So the first phase of development for this application was everything was done not in code, not inside an application, not with whatever technology, but just with paper. We were happy with it. We tested once, twice. It was working. We were able to have complex forms with complex fields. We were able to tell the application what comes next for the other summary, and so on and so forth, and how to deliver the service. So we were really happy. But yeah, we had the Google Docs. That's it. We cannot give a Google Docs to our consumers, obviously. So we decided, okay, now we need a concrete implementation of this protocol. So what do? You start developing an application for that. But again, looking at 3 developers, guys, are we building an application every time we have a new partners? Jumia is currently, if I'm not wrong, in 11 countries. JumiaPay at the time was only in Nigeria. And we were already planning launching Egypt in just 4 months. So time was short, and we were 4 developers. It was still a proof of concept, obviously. Okay, the team eventually scaled. And without any further ado, we start thinking, okay, let's build an application that is reusable. We implement the protocol once, and that's it. That's done. It's done forever. It gives ownership to a future developer that comes in the team and can work on these integrations. They can add new partnerships all the time by only implementing these applications. So cool, we have now the idea of an application that is able to give a form, to process all this information, etc., etc. But JumiaPay app is much more than that. It's e-commerce one-on-one, that's it. So e-commerce requires marketing, campaigns, tracking, requires so many other things. And obviously, we don't want to build these things all the time for all the integrations. So we start thinking, okay, we'll have a core system. This core system is completely decoupled from anything like this. The core system will worry about, I will save a transaction on my database. I will provide rules for rewards, like cashback. If you use JumiaPay app, you get cashback all the time. It's great. You worry about games, Shake and Win. Amazing games you should play every day, you get cashback. So many cool things. So we built this, we start having this idea of building this core system. And obviously we are not in startup mode anymore. That was like 15 days ago. So we did it the right way, microservices. Each microservices has its own focus on its own business concerns, let's say. So now, we have the idea, the concept, that we have a core system that is able to handle all the integrations for all the providers, each integration by their own application, which is copies of the same application. Let's call it like white labels application. And that core system can handle other systems, a transaction system, a delivery system, a rule engine system, whatever other system we have in e-commerce. And obviously the front ends, API gateways, this stuff. You know what I'm talking about. So JumiaPay Core will handle all the business logic from JumiaPay. The things that our business wants to do to please our consumers. So our consumers are happy, they come back. Also because Jumia is amazing. And then we'll prepare the prices. We'll make sure we give amazing rewards and so on. It sends push notifications and that stuff. But now we have the definition, the JumiaPay protocol. We had the idea, okay, now we can build a white label, but how do we do it in a way that will simplify the development for anyone that has the ownership to do it? So we split this application in half. Half of the application will handle the JumiaPay protocol. So it knows how to talk with the core system. The second half would be the integration with the partner API. And there is a bridge in the middle. So to provide a form, there is a resource in the application to provide a form. That resource has a handler that can connect to the partner's API. That handler is empty. It's up to you as a developer to fill it with code that the partner can resolve. So basically, all these adapters, all these white labels are translators. They transform the response from the partner into something that our core application can understand. And it's strict. It's the JumiaPay protocol, nothing else, no exceptions whatsoever. But you know what? I have this methodology. If you want to build good applications at the application level, but at the architecture of the ecosystem itself, you should always promote low coupling, right? So applications should concern about their own scope, their own functionalities. So the adapters itself, they don't really bring that much value. At the end of the day, they are the systems that allow us to sell services to our consumers. But you know, partnerships will come and go. Sometimes they grow, sometimes they shrink. And we really wanted to make sure that these systems were plug and play. So, as I was telling you, they support the JumiaPay protocol, so immediately they will connect to our system. And to make it really, really easy to everyone, the configurations for these applications are done from a user interface. We can upload the specific document, we call it the manifest file, that will tell our core system how to connect to the white label itself. And the idea came because we start thinking about the following. If we can have a team that has the ownership to build these integrations, what if, when we do a partnership with any other company, we tell the company, you know what? Why don't you just implement the JumiaPay protocol? If you do it yourself, it's going to be plug and play. We can activate your account easily, and we start selling the next hour. It means that any one of you that has a business and wants to make business on the JumiaPay app, if you build your own API that follows the JumiaPay protocol, we can enable you and you can start selling the next minute. So it's amazing, I mean, you have to admit it, right? We have now a core system that handles all the logic. We have all these adapters that are completely coupled. The core system is not even aware of their existence. I mean, they eventually will search into the core for a facade that will get a request, will be able to go inside and follow some sort of strategy to pick up the right adapter and to follow up with the form, with the delivery of the service and so on. But yeah, like any good story, there is always a weird side that comes afterwards. So when we finished the implementation of the core in the first release, this is what came out from it. We don't show this on the onboarding to new joiners, okay? We wait like maybe 15 days. We want to keep them at least, give them a chance. So this is our backend, basically. As I was telling you, we went from a monolithic to a microservice system in a couple of months, doing the right thing, which is actually one of the Jumia values, that is always do what is right and not what is easy. In this diagram, obviously, I'm not going to deep dive on this, unless you have time, if you want, yeah, why not? But no. You don't see the integrations itself. Today, I will show some statistics at the end. Let's not lose the, yeah, let's move on. So that part, that diagram, was actually the easy part. And the reason why it's the easy part, it's because we have the ownership of that. This is our backend. This is JumiaPay backend. And we control our backend. We have our monitoring, we have our auto-scaling. Yeah, Alexandre will be talking about this next. We have all these amazing things. But we came back to the original problem. We don't have a catalog. We don't control your bills. We are not aware of the existence of your bills. And since we cannot control this, we depend on the partners APIs. So to simplify this problem, we started to think just like as in any other e-commerce platform. We started with the state machine, and this is the transaction lifecycle. The transaction lifecycles make sure that we know what's happening from step to step on every single transactions. So when you start a transaction with JumiaPay, we keep track on your transaction because we want to make sure that we deliver the service to you as fast as possible, as secure as possible, and if something goes really, really wrong, we can recover your money, we can retry, we'll make your life as easier as possible. So the transactions will start by just, keeping, this is very simple. I'm sure you're all familiar with this. We save some data into the database, like insert into something, because this is SQL. And the state machine will start working. Some of these processes are to make sure that we can verify with streaming data the payment. So when your payment is complete, we can take care of the delivery of the service, which we'll be speaking afterwards, because this is really the hard part of the Jumia digital services. We take metrics of the reliability. We'll be talking about that as well. And eventually, if something goes really, really wrong, we can actually process the refunds. So, in any state machine in e-commerce, you keep track of your order. You understand where the consumer is at. So you're waiting for a payment to happen. And then you get the notification of the payment that was successful. Then you will start the delivery process. So in retail, what is the delivery process? It's basically, I'm sure, a warehouse, we get a notification in the warehouse, you print a label, you put the label in a box, a guy in the car or a motorcycle will pick that box and we'll ship it to you. In the digital service world, it's exactly the same concept. Obviously, there is no car, no guy, there is some bits and bytes floating, but it's the same thing. A delivery will start, and we'll keep track of that delivery. Now, with providers, and that's again the hard part, we don't control their API. We don't know. There is no way we can control that. So, in the perfect world, when we start the delivery, we ask the provider, okay, we know the consumer A pay for his bill. Can you just lock the transaction? The provider will say, it's locked, fine. Perfect, we're happy. We do the reconciliation later, okay? Friends, yeah, cool, bye. That's it. It doesn't happen many times like this, unfortunately. Unfortunately, sometimes we tell the provider, hey, we got the money, we pay the bill, and hey, are you there? Knock, knock. Bad getaway. Oh. Okay, and what now? What should I do? Should I try again? Yeah, I'm going to try again. And the consumer gets a notification. Oh, your bill was paid. Ah, your bill was paid second time. How is that possible? Ah, because the first time you got a bad getaway, but you actually paid for it. Oh. So we started to have issues like this, and this is really tricky. A way to control this is to have another state machine that really, really takes care of this. And another thing that is really important, that state machine will make sure that the delivery can only happen once. So it will generate a unique transaction reference so that later, if our partner is telling us, something is wrong here, we can say, wait, I have this number. What happened on your side? It was you then, huh? And we can solve this type of problems. If something goes wrong and we get a bad getaway or any other type of errors, this state machine is able to requery. And the requery process is basically going to the partner and ask a partner, hey, I sent you this unique transaction reference, what happened? And the partner can tell us, I don't know, wait a second. And we can retry later and retry. And then eventually we'll get somewhere. It's to bring the reliability system at its most. And this system is completely autonomous. So, this is another presentation of the same thing. What happens is when a transaction is failing, we keep track of that information via a streaming channel. This is really boring. Via a streaming channel, we send notifications and we keep track of the success of that delivery. We did this, why? Because when we have a lot of issues with partners that are suffering an outage, which is completely normal, who never had a problem but deploying production, right? We have it like every day. So in order to keep track of what's going on in real time, we can use this system to actually send notifications to understand if the delivery is happening. And if it's not happening, we can use that in a secondary system to shut down services. So if a partner is having an incident, we can immediately turn off that service and rely into another fallback. Not only that, we had another problem. What if you are in the middle of a delivery and your application crashes, which happens sometimes? You can have a huge spike in traffic. For some reason, your application will go down. And it was in the middle of the delivery. So you will have inconsistent data on your database. It says that it's processing, but it's not really processing, it's just dead. For that, we've been leveraging a library that's called Bool, which is just a queue task manager. We make sure that every single delivery are managed by a task by itself. If the task is not complete, it will resume the next time the service is up. With that in mind, it's possible for us, it's possible for our amazing customer service when you have a problem to check and verify every single steps of the delivery. We can know what happened during the process of delivering a service to you. How many times we have to retry to actually be able to pay for it, and if it was not working because maybe you inputted the wrong personal information, it will automatically process the refund. And the customer service and us and everybody will have the clarity and the transparency to understand what went wrong. So you don't need to rely on Kibana and logs, and you know what I'm talking about when your manager comes in and asks what happened, and okay, I'm spending 2 hours looking into the logs to see where it crashed. All the information will be stored and saved and visible. So, another cool thing about this, now if you think a little bit about it, it means now that the JumiaPay app has a form builder that is able to generate dynamic forms on demand from a service that is able to understand which form we are requesting on every single request and can build the next steps. JumiaPay is really proud that we'll be launching really soon in Egypt more financial products. And these financial products will request, let's say, information, application data from the consumer. One of the issues that rose, and again, because JumiaPay is available in 8 different countries, was, would that information be the same across all the countries? Obviously, stakeholders says no. I don't know, maybe, maybe not, I never know. We only know like the day before we groom the ticket. And we use the leverage of this form builder to be able to build all the forms that we have on our own application. It means now that the digital services not only provides a solution to pay bills, to pay your internet bill, your favorite video game, but it can be used everywhere across the application to register any application for financial products, for financial systems, or whatever other system, and it can be used for other things like, for other things, eventually, yeah. So, it's highly reusable customer. And can you just? So this is a good example on the future flow for the application where all these screens were built dynamically by the same tool that builds the forms where you can pay your bills. So today, in terms of numbers, you remember I told you guys, the guy was telling me, hey, we want hundreds of digital services. And that was 2018. We are in 2022. And every day we're launching new digital services. There is a team of guys over there that are working every day to launch new services. Today we are counting 511. When I did this statistic, it was 511. Now it's more actually, because they just released a few of them. We have 43 providers. Many of these providers are doing the integration themselves. It's not done us by in-house. And we are in 8 different countries. The application is scaling every day, and the initial premises and issue that we had that we didn't know how to scale, we didn't know what was coming, is not an issue anymore because we don't care, honestly. We are ready for any type of new digital services in the platform. And that's it, guys. That was my story. I lost the bet. Yes. It's there, the guy is there over there. You see? I love you too, man. I don't know if you have any question.
Out of all integrations data, I assume you should, do you have a plan to get some analytics out of the life cycles that you are moving? Because, for example, in certain countries, you can have some defects in certain points in the life cycle. You are creating a generic life cycle that covers 8 countries and 40 plus providers. So do you get some analytics out of the traffic working on, so that from to the next level we can do like more and more improvement in the state machine or the process added?
Yes, sure. Yeah, so this is a product that is evolving. When I showed the screenshot from the JumiaPay protocol, maybe you didn't notice, but it said JumiaPay protocol v2.2. So it means that since 2018, when we launched, or 17, something like that, a few years ago, we already evolved the protocol for a few versions. So yes, we collect obviously data real time. We get feedback from our users that are sending us emails, which is actually amazing, and they tell us really what they want, what are the services they are looking for, and some of the services, they are becoming more and more complex. On the JumiaPay app recently, the team built an integration for buses. And to be able to book a bus, well, you need to choose a departure date, the arrival date, then you need to choose the destination where you're picking up the bus. You have a seat map where you can choose the place where you sit, but all the buses are different. Some of the seat maps will be big buses, small buses. You get the point. Basically, every day we have more and more service types. We review the protocol and we make sure that it fits what we need. And sometimes we look back and we see things that we had in the protocol that are useless. So we remove them. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I would ask if you had if you had found any fraud cases recently.
Fraud cases?
Yeah.
All the time, my friend. Yeah.
Okay.
We're on the internet e-commerce, internet e-commerce. There is fraud every minute. I'm sure it's happening right now.
Yeah. Okay. Any plans for like fraud detector, automated fraud detector for this? This is the first question. The second one, if there is any POSs planned, for the other payment companies in Egypt, they are providing POSs for the sellers in the markets and that stuff. So you can't only rely on the end consumer, but you can also rely on sales agent and sellers.
So for the first question, yes, we do have anti-fraud systems in place. It's not in my presentation for obvious reasons. If you want to know more about it, you can apply for JumiaPay and work with us. And we do have a lot of systems that try to understand if you're a real user, if you're not a real user, if you're a bot, if you're using a real application, if you're using an emulator, like an Android emulator, and what are the reasons why you're frauding the system. In some cases, we don't call these users fraudsters, we call them abusers, because in some of these cases, these users are real users, people that just found a loophole in some sort of a campaign. So it's actually not a fraud, it's abuse of the system. But they are fraudsters as well. So every time we detect some weird activity, we respond as fast as possible, and we implement many systems, because let's be honest, some of these people are really, really smart. And yeah, that's it. In terms of the second question, I think it's for Emad. Honestly, Emad is our head of product for the future of the product and the platform. I don't know. You want to take that question? Not really. But yeah, I mean, the platform is evolving every day. Every day we're launching new functionalities. As I was showing, just to give an example of how we are leveraging the technology to be reusable in the platform, so we don't have our developers working on the same thing over and over and over again. These financial features, but also as you was telling, which I think I understood was, can the marketplace be used by any other partner instead of being just a face of the JumiaPay app? I would say it's completely possible. Again, because as I was saying in the beginning of this session, that the front end is really, really dumb. Okay, no disrespect for the mobilers. That's what we asked them to be. But yeah, so we basically control all the aspects of the application, what we show to the user and everything dynamically from our backend. So it could potentially be used by anyone else.
And as for your second question related to the POSs, exploring vendor site solutions is something on our map, at least to pilot in 2022. But whether it will be a POS, an MPOS, a tap on phone solution, a complete vendor side app, this is something still in the exploration phase. Thank you.
When Emad joined today, he didn't know he was participating.
can you tell us maybe some pain points under pain, if you want to share this with us, maybe?
I knew that question was coming. So pain points. So yeah, obviously I will say, when you have strong campaigns, just like what Bruno was talking about, and you have a huge amount of traffic, it can be a problem. One of the reasons we build the platform the way it is today with all these microservices and the complexity that you saw here was to, since day one, and again, from our own experience, we wanted to avoid many of these pain points, which were, if you have huge amount of traffic, should the entire system suffers because of it. So in terms of managing this, what we did, obviously we split in microservices. Each microservices has their own scope. So some microservices, like let's say the CMS management, the content management, it will get a lot of traffic, obviously. And I'm sure Alexandre will be talking about this, but what we did was to make sure we had nice autoscalers in the system that could, every time the CPU was reaching that level, would automatically autoscale the applications, handling all the traffic. So there is a lot of automations in the backend to handle all this traffic. Another thing was we split carefully the way we cache data on the backend in multiple caching clusters. So we split the responsibility to cache certain items of certain information from the backend in different clusters, in different addresses, let's say, so we don't overflood certain parts of the application.
Maybe I'm thinking about when we have for JumiaPay consumer app, many integrations and many partners. So for sure, one of the pain points maybe for some integration that we might have some incidents. Sorry. So
some what? Sorry.
Some incidents or maybe failure from from
Okay. So this is where the reliability system comes in. So the good thing with so many providers, there is a good part of that, is that many of the providers will sell the same service. So you guys, you're familiar, I'm sure, with Orange, Vodafone, this well-known or small, telephony company. And we have different providers that will allow us to recharge your phone through Vodafone, through Orange, and so on. So what we did with the reliability system is that every time a service is failing, the service is configured to multiple providers. It can be connected to one provider, to two providers, an infinite number of providers. And you, as a stakeholder, you can choose the percentage of traffic you want to redirect to each provider. So if a provider is having an incident and the service is not functioning well, a reliability service will understand it after a few seconds, because the degradation of service, let's say the conversion rate of that service will be so low that the system will automatically switch off that provider and fall into the next one, the one that is configured to be active afterwards. So for the end user, he will always have access to his Vodafone bill, not through the same provider, but he will have the same access. So he will be able to use that service.
Okay, but for the end user at the end, so how can be some visibility for him to maybe know what happened inside or internally? Like if we maybe share something with end users to know more about the problem, because sometimes it's from the vendors or the partners, sometimes from us, maybe, I'm not sure. But at the end, I'm not sure how we can facilitate this for the end users.
Well, if there is a fallback, the end user will not see anything because it will be able to pay for it. And most of our critical services have fallbacks. This is something the business makes sure that it happens, to find always more than one provider so you don't put all your eggs into the same basket. If it doesn't, for some reason, maybe there is a very specific service like a AXA insurance, you want to renew your insurance plan, and it's not working, the user will get a notification to come back later. So it will have the standard, a messaging that says, "Oh, we're so sorry, really," and we are really, really sorry, I have to admit. And you will be able to resume his purchase later. But but eventually, that's really important. The stakeholders will get a notification about this. So there is internal communication. Maybe this is what, when you say user, I'm not sure, but the consumer will just get this standard message, but internally us, we will get notified that the service is not working. So we can immediately start working with the provider to make sure they fix whatever problem they're having. Yes. It's okay.
We're talking at the same functionalities but different frameworks or technologies. So for example, you mentioned Pull, Bruno mentioned Kafka, you mentioned more of a JavaScript stack, here we mentioned more of Spring Boot. So how are, whenever Jumia is going to a new project, how are the decision made to go through which framework, which technology, which tools, and so on?
So that's really, okay. So, before I start answering this question, in terms of engineering, a good practice is that you always reuse what you have. So you find new ideas based on the previous ideas that you have. You don't need to reinvent the wheel all the time. So in terms of the fact that we may be sharing some of the strategies in terms of development, it's because we are working in the same company. In terms of different tech stacks, like you were saying, like Bull. Well, okay, Bull is not really the same thing as Kafka because we have a streaming system, and Bull is not worried about streaming. It's about managing tasks, making sure that the task will run from the beginning to the end. So it means that you kill the process in the middle of the process, it will resume as soon as possible. But there are different stacks. Yes, it's true. Bruno was talking about Java. I'm talking about some of these applications, or most of these applications are Node.js. And the reason why it is like this is because at the time when we were searching for performance, so we did some test performance, we decided that Node.js was the technology. I will say that it was Node.js and Python were the technologies that were more performant for what we were looking for. Eventually, because we have more experience as front-end and web developers with JavaScript, we went with Node.js. I know that Bruno and many other products in the company, they need maybe more stability, something a bit different. You have different criteria. So they will look into Java for that, or even other languages. We have a high-performance application. When I talked about the rule engine needs to take decisions in milliseconds. And the only stack we were able to get that performance with Golang. So we have Golang technology on our platform. For these reasons. So at the end of the day, the decisions are made by looking into what you need, what you want, and making sure you're working with the correct tech stack.
The first one is that does it have support for like human tasks where actual people will do things and they approve or like reconcile certain things? And the second question is has there been a case where the current protocol didn't support and you felt like the effort to support this will much more than the value that given from this service?
So for the first question, yes, the protocol supports manual actions. So in the reliability system on the delivery process, I was saying that it tries to automatically take decisions. If it fails, it will try to understand why it failed. And if the failure is recoverable, it will try again a new delivery later. If it's not recoverable, start a refund process. And if it's successful, obviously we're all happy and the consumer is happy. But sometimes it's neither of these cases. So it becomes something we call the unknown. Something happened and we cannot take any decision. So it requires a human to actually call the partner and say, for this transaction, what happened? And the partner will tell you, we don't know, but don't worry, it wasn't delivered. So you can fill it. And we'll fill it manually from our tools. There is a user interface for this. If it says, no, it was just perfect, we got a glitch, but it worked. The user will be able to do the same thing, to change and say it was successful. So there are, and obviously the form itself is made for the user to input data and to be able to purchase that service. So yes, short answer for your question is yes, for the first question. There are manual interactions, but we search to resolve all our issues let's say 90% of them automatically without without the need of someone looking into it. The second question you were asking is if sometimes the protocol was overkill, right? Too much for something we were trying to achieve. Actually, it's the other way around. Today, we've been using the protocol in services that are not providers itself, are not digital services. We have functionalities on our system that we thought, we just need just a small part of the protocol to be able to build that. So we took that white label, that adapter, and we built something that is completely different from everything else based on that. But as I was saying to another person, the protocol is always evolving. And if we understand that there is stuff, and we recently had a meeting, like yesterday, and we were seated actually there, and we're discussing about it, and we were saying, there is this part of the protocol that we don't understand it, our providers don't understand it, and honestly, we don't know why we ever created that. Okay. Basically, after 2 years, no one is using this, or 5 years, sorry, no one is using this, so maybe we should just drop it and remove it. So yes, in terms of refactoring, we are always reviewing that protocol to make sure that is as simple as possible and useful as possible. We don't want to put things there just to be there.
Thank you so much for your great presentation. I have a question probably more toward the client side. So as you start working on, as you say, like we have a component library and we have something like a form builder, you have a set of components that's probably gonna be used in every integration that you make. As long as you start adding more integrations, there might be a need that arises for new components that you need to add. My question about how frequent did that happen? And what's the strategy that you're following when you started to do that? Would you stop these services from showing on the application overall and force the user to update in order to be able to perform these parts? And also, what if there is some kind of a component that you need to add that is only going to be used by a single service from the 500 plus service that you were talking about? Are you still going to add it and grow your library and maybe add the burden of maintenance and these kind of stuff? Or do you have some kind of like set of rules that you have in order to do something like that? And thank you so much.
Amazing question, actually. This is part of our history and our journey. So when we started the protocol, the first version, there was maybe like, I don't know, 5, 6 components maybe. Today, I don't know also by heart, but this should be close to 30, probably. And what we did was every time we needed exactly a new component to be shown to the user, that could be just as a text field, but not a text field because that's really basic. That came with the first version, but you get the point. Any type of component, we had to take a decision. So to answer your last question, sometimes we understood that some of the components were kind of exclusive, were things that we needed in only one place or maybe 2 places, and these were very, very, very special, something that we don't really want to be used by anyone. So these components are available internally for JumiaPay, but they are not available in the protocol for partners. So yes, we have components that only us use, and there are a few of them, but they are built and inserted into our client applications the same way as any other components. So yes, we add all the components in all the client applications, but no, we don't make them available to everyone, every single component. Let's say that 90% of the components are available, but not all of them. Your second question was, where it was? You were asking about, it was about components, sorry.
That you follow in order to, like if you have a certain service that is added and that service requires a certain component and it's not available in the application yet, so you have to recompile and build another version. Would you display that to the user or force them to update or whatever?
Exactly. So in a part of my presentation, I say that when we add a new partner, the partner facilitates a file that we call the manifest file. The manifest file has many things. Namely, it tells us how we can connect to the partner's API. But there are other things. It will tell us what are the digital services that partner has, and for each digital services, what are the requirements. So what are the components that are required to exist in the platform for a user to be able to purchase that service. So our core system has kind of a mapping that says that for platform A, maybe Android, we have all these components available, and not all components are available in all the platforms because there are limitations. On web, you have a huge reach, but you don't have so much of functionalities that are available in native applications, like accessing the hardware of the application, the device itself. So some of the components will require this, and they will not be made available on web. So our system is able to tell the user, we are sorry for the service is still there available, but it will tell the user, we are sorry, but the service can only be purchased on platform A or B, Android, iOS, or maybe only Android. When we launch a new version of the protocol and we launch a new service, a new service that uses new components that are not available in the old apps, because it's true, users will install the app times 2 times, they don't always upgrade. We tell the user, we are sorry in the app. When this happens, the app is smart enough to tell the user, we are sorry, but if you want to purchase this service, you need to upgrade the application. So you will see a nice screen with the button to update your application. And at last, if we really need to make it available across the board, we can force update everyone to update the application. We don't do this, obviously, more often. I think we never do. Or if we did, it was like once in 5 years or something like that, because it's just bad for the end users.
So for almost 30 components that we have, so it's all from external partners, or do we have things on our own from Jumia? Like it's not external, it's internal?
Ah, yes. So yeah, Jumia is a big ecosystem in terms of e-commerce. It's really large. It's amazing. And we have a lot of services that are available across the board. Some of these digital services, I'm going to give a good example. If you are a JumiaPay consumer, and you should be, there is a cool service called Jumia Prime, which you should subscribe, which is a digital service provided by one of our platforms, and the integration is done with that platform. So it means that not only we leverage the platform to use providers, external companies, that we do the same thing internally in our own company. So let's say that Jumia Food, which is actually a really good platform. I know I'm always saying the same thing, but it's true. We can actually, Jumia Food provides to us certain services that we connect to them using the same technology. Again, we always reuse what we have because this is the solution to scale. I don't know if you know, but I really love Jumia. Amazing, that's cool. That's it. I'm missing no one? Perfect. Thank you, guys.